Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to show you how to set forms for a public sidewalk that we're going to be pouring today. Please stay tuned and continue watching until the end, because we're going to be showing you the entire detailed process on how we set the forms. We reinforced everything. We put some gravel down and compacted the base like you see right here. And we're just going to get it ready, so that way we're going to pour it in about an hour or so. If you want to learn how to set forms and pour all kinds of concrete work with the proper finishing techniques, then you're in the best place here on YouTube, since that's all we do here at Eternal Rock Construction. Consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and activate the notification bell, so that way you don't miss out on any future videos that we're going to be uploading in the near future. Here we have approximately 30 lineal feet of 5-foot wide public sidewalk area that we're going to pour concrete today. And several hours before, we're starting to prep the base, so we have everything well compacted and just ready to go before the concrete supplier arrives. The first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that you remove any of the loose soil material. That's exactly what I'm doing right here. There was a bunch of mud and very loose dirt, so I'm separating the dirt to the left side, and then to the right side I'm throwing all of the leaves. And since we recently cut down a really large pine tree, there was a lot of pine needles and leaves and debris and wood chips and all kinds of stuff, so we want to try not to mix the dirt and the wood chips together. So that's why I'm being very careful and taking my time. So this is the results after I gave it the first run through. I put all the dirt over here on the parking strip, and I was able to remove most of the leaves and wood debris, and I put that on the upper side and just get it out of the way. So we're gonna do some additional prep work, because we noticed in this middle area that it was really loose. The soil, when you stepped on it, like your foot would sink down about 8 inches or so, and we really didn't want that for the base. So whenever you have that, you want to make sure to get it out of the way, and we're going to replace that area with compacted gravel instead. So the nice thing is we had a dump trailer there with some gravel on the side, and we're just starting to put some of that gravel right there to backfill those low areas and compact everything. We have a string line. We're starting to run it from one end to the other where the existing concrete is, and we do that by putting a couple of metal stakes into the ground, and you just want to tie that string line around the metal stake and tighten it enough so that way it's at the level of the existing concrete. And this string line is very helpful and is needed, because it's going to give you the surface level of the new concrete, and then you're also it's going to help you to get a nice straight line for your form setting. So that's the two main reasons of why we run the string line, and that's the purpose of that. So this is something that we do pretty much every time. Like you see right there, he just puts the metal stake right close to that existing concrete edge. He wraps around that string line and tightens it up, and then he runs it all the way to the other side, and then he's gonna put that other metal stake right there and just tie it at the other end so it's nice and tight. And that's gonna help them to give them a reference point and a guide. So before we start setting up the forms, we want to make sure that the base is nice and ready. So we're just bringing in enough gravel and backfilling all of the areas. especially since there was a couple low spots right there in the middle where we removed quite a bit of dirt and mud. All of that happened because there was a couple of large tree roots from the pine tree that we recently cut down and removed. And so we had both of those roots grinded down with the stump grinder, and it just created a bunch of mess with the mud and all that, and it just got very loose. So thankfully we were able to remove it and set all that aside, and now we just filled up that area with the gravel, and so now it's nice and even, and we're going to be able to proceed with the form setting. And we're just using the 2x4s. We have different lengths. Some are a lot longer than others. Like this board right here, it's a full length. And we're just going to start placing them strategically according to the best layout possible. And we do this by just dry fitting them, and we're going to see what works out best and whatever takes the least amount of cuts. And in certain areas, we found that the dirt was still a little bit high, so we had to cut back and excavate a little bit more. Here in this end, there's like an existing utility lid, so the form, it can't go all the way through that area, so we're gonna have to place a smaller piece of form board and lay it horizontally on top of that. But as far as form setting, it's pretty straightforward. We're just laying down the forms there in the position, and then we have the string line, like I mentioned before, that's our reference guide. We're just making sure that it runs in a straight line following that string line. And so we're just laying down those form boards and putting wooden stakes and nailing those to the forms. That's what you see right there. He's just putting those wooden stakes down in there and then just nailing it to the form. There's that horizontal 2x4 that I mentioned we're gonna place right on top of the lid, and that was because we weren't able to fit like an actual regular size form. And so we're just taking our time, making sure that the forms are nice and even on the surface, that it's just as straight as possible. And one thing that we always do is we check the level. You want to make sure that you always have like a 1.5%, maximum 2% slope going towards the street. So that's what we're making sure. And we found another area right there that was quite high, so we had to excavate a little bit more and remove some more soil, so that way our form board can fit. And right there, it's pretty good. So once we have it set up, then we just start putting in more of the wooden stakes, and we're just nailing it to the form board. It started to rain on us here in the afternoon. It was like off and on raining, so we just have to work around that the best way possible. But that's pretty much the process of how we set up the forms. We pretty much follow this procedure in most of the sidewalk repair. Obviously some are different than others because here in the Pacific Northwest we deal with a lot of trees and roots and elevation differences and all that kind of stuff, so every house, every scenario is different. In this case, it's a nice and straight sidewalk. The squares are 5x5, so this is one of the easier ones that we've done in a while. We were able to knock this out here pretty quickly. We have this small little bender board that we're going to use in this section. This is another area that we couldn't fit a regular size form board, so whenever that happens, we're just using the bender boards, which are like half the thickness. But that's pretty much the entire process right here. Now we're able to remove those metal stakes, and all of the forms are pretty much set up, and this is ready, so that way we can get the concrete poured. The only thing we're doing now is just spreading the gravel evenly throughout all the areas. But this is the results after we set up our form. Usually those stakes are about 6 to 8 inches away from the seams, you know, where they meet from one to the other. And then we also have some kind of in between, every like 6 to 8 feet apart from each other, just enough so that way it helps to keep the form straight and just provides that reinforcement. But that's how it is here on both sides. And this little bender board, we're just gonna put it in there whenever the concrete arrives. That's something they can easily do really quick. And then in the end, the only thing that's left to do is to compact all the areas. But that's pretty much it. We hope you liked this video. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and activate the notification bell so that way you don't miss out on any future videos that we're going to be uploading in the near future. May God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video.